Hello, it's the allergid edition of the Q&A episode of DeProgram with Ted Rall and Jamarl Thomas. It is 12 noon on Monday, July 27th, 2026. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Q&A Ask Us Anything edition. For if you're new to it, or even if you just need a reminder because you're suffering from early onset senility, it doesn't matter. What we do here is Mondays and Wednesdays. We supplement the normal Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern show with a Q&A show that goes on for about an hour. And basically, it's total open mic. We talk about anything and anyone, and we just basically have a good time. And we ask you to join the party. Please go ahead and sign in. If you're watching live on YouTube or Rumble, join the chat. Producer Robby will take your questions and post them up to us. You can ask a question for any one of us or all of us or two of us or whatever you want. You can make a comment. You can rant. Basically, it's whatever you want to do here. We also have the ability to take a voice caller on Rumble. So there is a post in the live chat on Rumble, which has a link to it. If you want to call, you can call and talk to us. I will if someone calls, I will give the rules before we put you on the air. We haven't had any calls lately, so I'm not going to bother people with rules that they may not have to actually follow. Okay, what do we got here? Do we have? Let me put Robby on here. Do we have any questions yet?
Not yet. Now, people are trickling in, but no, there are no questions currently.
Okay.
Someone did have a question at the end of DeProgram. Someone asked if I was now a communist.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and answer that? And remember yesterday, I think there was a guy who emailed me, and I posted, did I send that to you or did I send that to?
Yeah, you sent that to me.
All right. So we should answer his question too. But anyway, Robby, go ahead. Are you a commie? Is your mommy a commie? Are there reds under your bed? We can do this all day.
No, I am not a commie. Let me see here. Let me see. So Boomsticks, I can't see the stream on Rumble anywhere, but Efusu just did a $1 rant on Rumble, so it's obviously up. I'm not sure what's going on there. Just go to Rumble, do a refresh, or I'll just drop the link.
I'm going to do that for you right now. Here we go. I'm not seeing us on Rumble either.
Yeah, I'm looking at us.
Let me see if I can add the Rumble stream. That's very strange. Rumble is quirky.
It's for some reason it has the title of this morning's show on there.
Yeah, but it's also we have two live streams on Rumble, both of whom very strange.
That's awesome.
Well, I don't know if this one's live.
I'm not sure how that works.
Oh, maybe we didn't kill the previous one. Or I don't know how that.
We killed it. Okay. Oh, I see people in the chat. Okay, so I see this one. Okay, so this one is. Okay, let me just make sure. We don't want to kill the wrong one. Okay, we've got two. Okay, so the top one it's usually the top one. That's the good one.
Yeah, no, we got 13 people.
Okay, it's the bottom one. I'm going to kill the bottom one.
Yeah, kill the bottom one.
Kill it. You got to go. Although, what's weird about that is, okay, well, I'm not killing the bottom one. That's just tomorrow. All right, I'm changing the data. Go ahead and I'll take care of all this. Go ahead and answer that question.
Wait, you say you're not killing the one that's Jamarl? What?
I don't even understand.
What's wrong? Just showing one of my old. What? That shouldn't show up in the program though.
I have. Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Okay. Go ahead, Robby. I'm taking care of this on this end.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, to answer, I am not a communist. That being said, I'm also not the kind of person that thinks that the free market is the end all, the savior of humanity, and that there has to be a refugee, not a refugee, there has to be a referee, and there has to be rules, or else what happens that you just get what we get right now. Like, for example, I don't think corporations should be a thing. I think they get too much power. I think that they just allow a collection of wealth, and if you have a representative system of government, then that just lets you just buy politicians, and then you get a kleptocracy, and that becomes an oligarchy, and then you get what we have right now. So, like BlackRock should be seized. It should be nationalized. It should be broken up. All utilities should be seized and nationalized because there's no competition there anyway. It's not like there's 3 or 4 different power companies that you're able to, shop around for to get the best electric rate. It's already a monopoly. So if that's the case, then the government should just take control of it. They should own it. And then instead of paying a monthly bill, what the government should do is then send you, since you own the government, at least in theory, you should get a dividend the way it should do as a taxpayer based on what that you have. So I don't know if that's a communist position.
Well, it has a lot of socialistic aspects for sure.
It was Sarah Palin's position in Alaska.
I mean, it's just what we have right now does not work, and the free market is not God.
No, clearly not. I mean, I guess this is kind of like, I think within the context of a capitalist system without a state-owned economy, this is my socialistic sort of fallback position. I would prefer communism, but, I think at least within the constructs of the system we have, anything that's really an essential service, right, which is what you're basically talking about, should be, politics is about arguing about things like, is this or that an essential service? I mean, I think we can all agree that things like healthcare are an essential service because without it, you're not, alive. But, the other question is public safety an important, a vital public service, firefighting, schools, transportation, communications. I would argue all of those are included there. Are the arts? That one's more subjective. I would say to some extent, yeah, it's a vital, essential service. But the point is we can argue about what those are.
Yeah.
I think things necessary to functioning in our society as it currently stands qualify.
Agree. And by the way, for people screaming entitlements, there's nothing wrong with entitlements. I mean, think of it like in your everyday life. There are things that are not entirely required, but you pay for because there's something that you care about, that you're willing to carry the cost as a part of your typical expenses. And I'm saying the state is the same way. If the state delineates healthcare as being a necessary function for the society to function, okay, then they can prioritize that without you having to pay $1 billion just for basic healthcare. Like this can be different. Agree? And it doesn't make you a commie to think that.
Well,
at least I don't think it makes you a commie, Robby.
Well, no, I was talking about Pastor yesterday about people here in the Valley being priced out. One of the things we do on the last Saturday of every month is a bunch of people from the church will go and we'll hang out door hangers on people's houses to invite them to come to church, call it Share the Faith Saturday. And this one guy I was talking to, he lives off of Helena Flats Road here in town. He lives in a house that his grandfather built in the early 1900s.
Wow.
He's having to sell it because he can't pay the property tax. And he's being forced out. He's having to move from his ancestral home. He grew up in that house. He's being pushed out because there's new developments all the way around him from rich out-of-staters from California pushing up the property taxes, and the locals are being pushed out.
Yeah.
And I brought that up to the pastor. He's just like, yeah, well, that's just the price of the free market. I said, no, it's not, because you don't own your house. If you don't pay taxes, what happens? The state takes your house. They take it from you. You don't own it. You own a mortgage. That's it. This, a fairer way to do this would be the state would own that land. You're not paying. I mean, you're already paying income tax anyway. Why would you pay additional tax on top of income that you've already been taxed on? It is yours, and then you're able to pass it down.
Right. That's not federal, or is it federal?
Property tax is always local.
Yeah, state tax.
State tax.
Yeah, I mean, the state owns. I mean,
no, it's not state. It's the state in that sort of anarchist sense.
Oh, you mean like
but
Richmond?
It's a city. It's a city.
Okay.
Yeah,
a city tax.
Might be a county in some cases in an unincorporated area, but yeah.
Because
well, it depends. Like Missoula, they have a city income. They have a city property tax, and then there's a state property tax. Because here in Montana, there's no sales tax, which is really nice. But the problem is, though, is that People who don't make $100,000 a year, they're being pushed out because the property taxes are going up, because the property values are going up, because inflation is going up, but wages aren't. And these people are losing their homes. And when I made that argument, he's like, that sounds awfully communist to me, Robbie. I said, well, you can be whatever it is that you want, but the state is stealing this man's home.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. This is like, it's not even a political discussion at this point, right? I mean, property tax is a somewhat socialistic thing, actually, right? Because it's predicated on the idea that people who own property are better off than people who rent property, right? And so it's kind of like a privilege. It's like, well, y'all can afford to pay property taxes. And so what's the threat? The threat is if you don't pay, even though you own your house free and clear, you don't own the bank, anything, the city can still, like in House of Wind and Fog, take away your house if you fail to pay that property tax. I mean, that's a free market actually wouldn't have property tax, right? I mean, in a free market, your property, you own your property. No one could take it from you under any circumstance, period, right? The state could not take it. This is an example of a somewhat socialistic tax, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with it is it's somewhat of a dumb tax. It needs to take into account the people who, like, meaning if I get land, for example, because someone died, that doesn't mean I'm balling. And whatever law there is has to be able to accommodate the fact that I'm not balling, despite the fact that I happenstance end up owning this land. And because it'll be just like the Robby case, right? It's like, okay, I need $25,000 to pay for so-and-so. I don't have $25,000, despite the law assuming that I do because I own this property. No, it can't be a dumb law. It has to make sense. No, I agree.
It's a dumb law in the same use as dumb bomb versus smart bomb, right? It's like it's indiscriminate.
It's indiscriminate.
It's like it should be needs tested. I mean, I certainly do believe that there's no problem taxing someone who has a $20 million luxury apartment in Midtown Manhattan. That person, although I'm not really sure that we need to get their taxes from that, but maybe. But the point, I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, the situation that you describe, that's ridiculous. A dude who is going to have to sell in order to, because he had the misfortune of his property value increasing
because of inflation.
Wrong.
Yeah, and on top of that, after he sells the home that he grew up in, he's then going to have to pay tax on gains, capital gains, because you're selling property.
Well, no, he won't.
And an income tax on top of it.
No, he won't.
So he
won't, because he's not going to have millions of dollars in capital gains. You can sell, if you sell your house and you don't sell it for $10 million, you're not paying capital gains on it.
Well, because
he'll sell the house and and here's the thing, right? It's not like he's going to die. He lives what's happened to him is that the property values have increased dramatically due to gentrification in his area. So therefore he's going to sell at a massive profit and get a windfall. He's going to have to move into a smaller place where he lives now, or he's going to have to move out to some place that's cheaper. And I'm saying he shouldn't have to do that. Okay. Right. But the point is, he's not going to die. It still sucks, and I'm still on his side. No. But you know what I mean? Like, he's not going to die.
The government is stealing his home, and they are going to then force him to pay a tax from selling the land that he grew up on to the people who stole the land from him in the first place. That is theft, and that's the problem with the capitalist system that we currently have. And it needs to be replaced.
Well, but like Ted said, that's more of a socialistic thing.
It's a socialistic thing gone wrong, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, and that can happen. I think it's important as a socialist here to say socialists can and do fuck up and make mistakes because they're human beings, right? And so, like, if anyone wants to look at the record of really existing socialism and point to mistakes, there's zillions of them for sure. The problem is that when socialism has an injustice, that's a mistake. It's not supposed to happen. When capitalism makes an injustice, that's a feature. That's supposed to happen. That's my problem with capitalism.
Yeah. It's the look, I think at some point, as a world, hopefully, we're going to realize that the issue is competition versus cooperation. Like, the competition by definition escalates. It forces you to escalate. It forces you to do something different, which is not necessarily bad, but it becomes bad when it becomes counterproductive to the system itself, meaning the war starts to rage with the levers of the system itself being used as part of the war, if that makes sense. Like, say, for example, Democrats and Republicans get into a fight, and then one party believes, well, hey, if we can flood the countries with people who are not from here, but somehow get them to vote. Okay, well, whether that's happening or not, that's outrageous. But you can imagine a party doing that. That's what they always accuse Democrats of effectively doing. Okay, you're going around the rules of the system in order to rig yourself into it. Or when you get jury rigging, for example, or like all of these things are a system that starts to eat itself. There has to be a better way to do it, unless it just is always this boom and bust.
Boom and bust is intrinsic to capitalism, though. I mean,
yes, it is.
I would much rather have a national sales tax than a property tax or a income tax. Don't penalize me for how hard I work, and so let me pay a tax based on what it is that I buy.
But my problem is that's so regressive, Robbie, right? I mean, because like everybody, whether they're Bill Gates or Ted Rall or Robbie West, all have to pay for a gallon of milk. And you're taxing all of us the same exact amount of money on that, even though, it's that tax represents such a radically different percentage of our incomes or our assets. That just seems terrible. I mean, if everybody was spending every cent that they earned, then it would be fair. Poor people spend every cent that they earn and then some and go into debt. Middle class people spend close to everything that they earn. Rich people spend only a tiny fraction of what they earn, and therefore they're paying only a small number of taxes on sales and use tax. That's what I hate about it.
But rich people right now don't pay income tax. They have shelters, everything else. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll just, like, Ted, you're a banker, you know this, especially if you have a big stock portfolio, you don't spend your income. You borrow against your assets. That's not income. You pay nothing. We're already carrying that burden.
Well, I would rather have an enforced income tax that's graduated without a bunch of like complicated deductions like we currently have. I mean, our system now is, every time I do my taxes, it takes like a whole day or two of my life every year. I think I'm a Republican. I want flat tax, but I don't really want a flat tax. I want a simple tax, a tax that you could just be like, I don't think, I don't think it's germane that I have to sit there and like play games like, oh, I went on a trip to Montana. Can I deduct that trip because I did see Robbie and he's my producer, so that's work related, but we also hung out and had a good time, so that was also like entertainment. Oh, I'm going to deduct it and hope for the best and hope I don't get audited. It's ridiculous. I should just be taxed on my income.
No, it's crazy. No, God has a 10% tithe.
By the way, where does that come from? By the way, do we know?
Yeah,
it's not in the Bible, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's
is it 10%?
Yeah, it's 10%. It is. So when Lot, after the battle of the 5 kings, when Lot was captured, Abraham raised a militia, went and rescued his nephew, and he paid a tithe to a priest named Melchizedek. A tithe is a form of worship, and it was 10%. If 10% is good enough for God, it should be good enough for government.
Well, govern, but God can smite countries for free. We have to use bombs.
Yeah, he can. But you know what? If you starve the government, it can't make as many bombs.
True.
Can't pay for the population either. I suspect that's what the tithe came in. They needed money. Basically, you don't have a government if you don't have taxes.
Yeah, the religious authorities were the closest thing to a useful government that those people had.
Yeah, for sure. God's not an anarchist. Government is a second institution he invented after marriage.
All right.
I don't know if God invented.
He did.
Whatever. That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
System of the judges.
All right. We have questions. That's what we're here for. All right. Here we go. Ben Queen. Hey, guys. Longtime listener, first-time chatter here. Wanted to say thanks to Robbie for cutting the 5 minutes intro waiting music from the audio-only podcast on this morning's podcast. Okay, I apologize. That's not a Robby thing, and it's going to be back tomorrow. Just don't tune in at 8:55, and this won't be an issue for you. Tune in at 9 o'clock sharp Eastern time, and you won't have to sit through the music. Okay, I apologize for that. If you're streaming later, I always cut that, and that should be okay. But yeah, anyway. Okay, although I think anyway. All right, I'm not going to get into that. Okay. Know anything, F you so, thanks for the $1. Know anything about 33-degree Freemasons and the conspiracies about them? I've never heard of 33
there's
degree.
so many conspiracy theories about Freemasons.
Yes.
I don't know. They're just littered with them.
Yeah.
That they're into the UFO thing, that they're into cults, that the presidents come from particular groups like Yale or something to that effect, which is true, by the way. That one is true. There's so many. I don't know the 33 degree one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know about the degrees. It is, Freemasonry is tied into the Kabbalah, which comes out of the Babylonian Talmud, which is basically numerology. So each letter has a numeric value, and then you're able to you can use divination and figure out what's supposed to happen, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they also worship this being called the Great Architect. Who or what that is. Exactly. I have my own opinion.
I love it. The Great Architect.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
I love it. The Great Architect in the sky.
He's the
that's the Madonna thing, right? Kabbalah?
Kabbalah? You mean from Iran? The book or
no? I mean the religion.
Oh,
well, it's part of Judaism.
I don't know much about it though.
Yeah, but Madonna, I think, is she does that.
Does she?
Oh, a lot of people do. Yeah, and typically you can see a Kabbalist because a lot of them will wear like a special kind of bracelet with a numerical value on it, and it's really big in like a Chabad Lubavitch. They do a lot of Kabbalah.
Huh.
Okay.
I'm sure you're not that into that.
I just don't know enough about it. I don't know about it one way or the other, to be honest.
All right, let's. I guess we're not getting a lot of satisfaction on that question. Okay, so actually, I do think that I can edit out the opening music on the MP3s. So I'll see if I can do that starting tomorrow. So thank you for that. That's a good thing, Stephen. Deprogram Q&As and TMI be put on YouTube Music at some point. I try to listen as often as possible, and having access to the shows on YouTube Music would be cool. The Q&As always go on YouTube Music. So we do that. Yeah, that's the MP3s. The TMI show, I guess that would have been Manila's job to put it on there. But you know what? I could start doing that too. So I will do that. I guess the thing is I'd have to put that in through the TMI, through the Deprogram channel. So guys, we should talk about that and see if that would be a problem for any reason, logistically.
I don't see why it would be.
Okay. Hey guys, wanted your input on how long do you think we have before things go haywire, whether it's an oil crisis or a major escalation in Iran causing a more widespread conflict, like, I don't know, Ukraine attacking Iran, let's say, as happened over the weekend.
That's a tough one. I mean, I don't know who. I mean, there have been some people who've been making predictions for the last 5 years that have gotten it wrong. Predictions are hard, especially when it's in the context of something that could go haywire. And there are many things. I mean, the AI bubble is one that could go belly up. The oil thing can go through the roof, even though Donald Trump seems to be manipulating the markets currently. Mm-hmm. It could be a few things, but it's hard to know any one particular thing. I mean, hell, it could even be some kind of escalation that takes place like a false flag in Europe, in which case they start revving up this idea of war. What's true it matters, but not almost entirely from the standpoint of the way they use political rhetoric. That's a hard one that I'm not even going to venture to give a guess on that, because there could be 4 or 5 different things that can go wrong that will create let's say a crisis. But if you guys have a better answer, let me know.
No, I agree with that. Robby, what do you think?
I think it's already going haywire. We're just in the middle of it. So it was kind of like, we're the frog in the pot. We're already there. So I mean, if you go, if you look at the cost of prices, so I say 2021, and then compare that cost with what's going on today, that is an existential threat. But the problem is that we don't do a good job with reflecting what a trend was, what a price was 5 years ago versus what it was a year ago.
Agreed.
So the government's just like, well, inflation. Well, first of all, inflation is not an increase in price. Increase in price is a result of inflation. Prices only go up like 2 or 3% every year, but they went up over 40% since COVID, and wages haven't. So we're already in the crisis. It's just we're not paying attention.
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
Yeah, and I'm with JT. I think it's sort of like we're just along. This is like it's like surfing. We're along for the ride. We'll see what happens. That's all. Okay. To hear Bulge, Ted, as a New Yorker, do you feel any changes due to Mamdani in quality of life? No, not really. No, I mean, New York goes on. I mean, look, Eric Adams was a shit mayor. It wasn't any worse under him than it was under de Blasio, than it was under Bloomberg. I mean, every now and then you get a mayor who really does have a meaningful impact on quality of life in New York. Bloomberg was really a big deal. He was first of all, he had 3 terms, but he instituted a 311 system to make the city bureaucracy a lot easier to navigate. When I moved to New York in the 80s, we had to buy something called the Green Book as a New Yorker that had the phone numbers for every city agency, so that if you had to navigate the city, like you got a ticket for dumping your trash on the corner instead of where it was supposed to be, and you want to challenge the ticket, here's the phone number to call to talk to the right clerk. All that's eliminated. Now you just call 311. It's like anything from a noise complaint to whatever, anything that's not an emergency, you call 311 and they send you to the right place. It's fantastic. That's a Bloomberg thing. There's lots of stuff like that he did. Giuliani paved a lot of streets so people stopped having their axles break on potholes and stuff. That was a big deal. Mamdani hasn't been in there long enough to see anything really meaningful happen. I mean, he gets blamed on social media for things like rental bikes not working right, but that's run by a private company. It's run by Lyft. It has nothing to do with them. They're fucking ridiculous. So no, I mean, we're not going to know. He did have one big snowstorm to deal with when he first came in, and the snowplows ended up where they needed to be. So, I mean, so far so good, I'd say. We'll see. I mean,
God, man, I hope he's A, remains competent, and B, does a good job. Because he's taken, how he goes is going to be how the left is categorized. I mean, granted, they're going to call it a communist anyway.
No matter what.
But if he does good for New York.
Yeah, you want him to be remembered as a sewer socialist, as the term goes back from 100 years ago. People who cared about the sewer socialists who were elected to local office and cared about local things like the sewers.
Do you know what I would do if I was him? All those empty buildings in the city, I would seize them and I would convert them into shelters, and people who are homeless, people who are sick, people who have no safety net, I would put them all up there, and landlords can go right straight to hell if they have a problem with it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean,
why wouldn't you do it?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you the one main opposition to it is the fact that you would then have all sorts of expenses, right? You already have a budget crisis. So if you seize a building, first of all, the owner is probably going to sue you. So you have to fight them in court. That's money. And all those renovations, you might have gotten the property for free, but all those renovations and changes are expensive. And as we saw with the Pfizer building partial collapse, you can have problems too. If you don't
the one I ask people to volunteer. I mean, listen, if you're taking these properties and the entire point is to make the city better, then what you could do is ask the people of the city, hey, this is what we're doing, but I need your help. I need y'all to step up, put your money where your mouth is. Let's do this thing together. I mean, isn't that the whole point
Well,
of?
there's other ways to do it too, right? Like turn some of these properties over to NGOs and 501c3 entities, and say like we will give you a big tax break if you guys pick up the tab. Here's a free building. You guys go wild. You can then then they can fundraise and say, hey, listen, the city of New York gave us this building. Now we need you guys to cough up the money so we can put in this shelter.
Yeah,
I would do a lot of that.
Mamdani would have to pay for those buildings, though, right? Like, meaning he couldn't just seize it without compensating the owner for the building, or I'm getting that wrong.
No, abandoned buildings can totally be seized. That's what eminent domain is for.
No. I'm not saying they can't be seized. I'm asking, would they have to pay the owner for those buildings? Like, let's say, for example,
fair market value. Yeah.
Okay.
Give them
But of course, you can determine what fair market value is, and if a place is a dump that's been like it's rat infested, fair market value is low, right?
Right.
So
no, I'm not against this. I guess the catch is, how do you pull it off? I mean, but again, this is the audacious thing that I think all of us kind of actually want.
Well, Trump's already shown us how you do it. You just do it.
You just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. Deal with it. Deal with the consequences later.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, let's see. Hey guys, did you catch the weekend tensions rising in the West Bank? A man named Farouk Ramadan was killed after defending himself against armed civilians and IDF members. Any thoughts? I'm really glad this came up. Are you guys familiar with the story?
Yeah, I am. And by the way, they do that all the time, where the settlers would effectively be backed by the military. So
Always.
It's like you provoke a fight in order to take somebody's house, to rape somebody's daughter, or help rape somebody's son, or steal some land, or steal something from the person. And then the military is just standing right there. So anything that you do in reprisal, the military effectively gets involved. While the state will be like, what do you mean? This is just settlers. We don't have anything to do with this, despite the fact that the military is intimately involved in the process. It's outrageous. I've spoken to people who were just beaten up the previous day, and they are living through hell. Like, that's an understatement, what they're living through.
Yeah. No. I mean, this story, it's interesting because maybe in anticipation of people like us talking about it, the Hasbara people online have been framing this as a Palestinian terrorist attack on poor innocent Israelis. And basically, I mean, it's not working anymore because nobody believes anything that the Hasbara IDF, Zionist apologists have to say anymore. But it would have worked 10 years ago. And basically they say, oh, this guy was attacked. These guys were attacked in this settlement, in this city, in this village called blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Where is that village? Oh, it's in the West Bank. Oh, actually, these people were coming to attack the Palestinians. Actually, he was defending himself. And so it doesn't fly anymore. And I think that's, to me, the big story here is the fact that, like, you Israelis, you have played all your cards with American public opinion. And I guess there's going to be like a small percentage of people who still buy what Israel has to sell. But man, that number is like vanishingly small, and it's only going to shrink further.
Yeah, but see, I think it's true. Agreed with everything you just said. I think my concern is that even though what you just said is true, there's still no consequences to what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to take a medication for nausea. It's making me a little.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Right. Okay, cool.
It was just tummy issues, but I'm just explaining why I might be a little off.
Okay.
Look, the reality of it is, I think what bugs me more than anything else is everything you just said is true. So the majority of it's kind of like Trump's war. They did a recent polling on it, and you got like 19%. I think it was like 19% that was like, the U.S. is totally winning the war, and the U.S. is doing great. And it's like, who are these 19%? The catch is, in this case, though, you're going to get a small percentage, as you pointed out, that still takes the Israeli line. Well, I mean, they were killed in the World War II, and so we have to allow them to murder, rape, pillage, and everything else. But the catch becomes, what is the consequence for it? So it's like, yeah, you get a changing in consciousness from the standpoint of the public that recognizes, okay, they're lying through their teeth. They're killing and creating mayhem and causing all sorts of trauma to regular people who are in the West Bank. but where's the consequence for it? Meaning, we know that they slaughtered, I think it was like 4 people, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, that sounds
over
right.
this. Yeah, but there's no consequences for them doing that. And I think to me, that's the part that has always blown my mind, because that flies so far in the face of what we deal with on an everyday basis. On an everyday basis, as a human being, usually there are consequences for your behavior, and the worse the behavior, the worse the consequence. That's not true in Israel, and it's damn sure not true in the West Bank.
No.
Well, the hypocrisy is outstanding. I mean,
Yes.
the media was all over the Islamist attack on that gay pride parade in Berlin. Like, oh, it's so terrible, and it's just, and then you have people talking about no immigration, rightly so, because I mean, if you import this kind of stuff, don't be surprised when this kind of stuff happens. The flip side, though, the fact that the exact same thing is happening in the West Bank. You have foreigners who are coming in, killing this Palestinian who's defending his home, who's defending his people, but he shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So, on the one hand, it's okay, and on the other hand, it's wrong. But it's the exact same problem. It's a dude who shouldn't even be there killing people who are indigenous to the area.
True.
And the hypocrisy is outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. You are correct, sir. You are correct.
True. Very true.
That's amazing.
All right, let's do some more. FU said, thanks for the $1 reading suggestion for you, Robby. Read Democracy Inc. by Dr. Sheldon Wolin. That's Wolin.
Will do. I like to read.
Okay. Okay. Victor Brown, Ted, made a mistake. Tell me about your cat, not your car.
A typo.
Do you all consider yourselves intellectuals? Well, I don't know what you want to know about my. What do they want to know about my cat/car? I don't remember. Well, I mean, he's 8 years old. He's a Russian blue.
Cat's 8 years old. Wow.
He goes. He's inside outside. He killed a bird 2 days ago. And you have to pretend like you're not disgusted when they do that. Otherwise, it hurts their little brains if you claim to, if you don't like it.
Seriously?
Yeah. Like you have to be like, that's a good kitty, cutie, good job. Inside you're like vomiting, but
doesn't that incentivize the cat to keep killing birds and bringing them home, since his master likes the birds that he killed?
But it's but that's dog brain. Like cat brain is like basically they're like kittens and you're their parents and you're teaching them, and they need to. It's true to their nature. I mean, a cat is a hunter; it has to kill. So you don't want to dissuade it from doing. It's sort of like, I don't know. It's like it's like raising a boy and having him wear a dress. I mean, it's like you're going against his nature, right?
Why are you being transphobic, Ted?
I would say that would be bad parenting, right?
You're channeling your inner Robby. I love it.
I knew you were going to say that, but you know what I mean. Like you want to be like dogs have to be able. Like I had a friend. Her father had an Afghan, one of those dogs with the long legs, and he kept the dogs like chained in like a tiny fence, and I was like, these dogs run like hundreds of miles. Like these are not supposed to be penned in. Sure enough, there were 2 of them. They got out. She lived in Princeton, New Jersey, and 3 hours later, they were found at the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel, dodging traffic. I mean, that's far. Those dogs were hauling ass across Jersey.
That sounds about right. I've only ever raised dogs. I mean, in fact, with my dog. So the dogs are with the wife, and to this day, I regret not getting Apollo. But I didn't get them because I assumed that she'd allow me to see them at some point.
Oops.
And that wasn't necessarily
what kind of dogs.
So both are pit bull mix. Apollo was a rescue. He had a broken leg. He was from like South Korea or somewhere. He was an immigrant.
Broken leg.
Pitsu was a little asshole. We got Pitsu actually over this way in Richmond, and so we've had both for years. I mean, Pitsu is, 8 years old or 9 years old. I mean, we got him like at the very beginning of the relationship. And so we literally raised him as a puppy. We raised Apollo as a puppy too. And so, yeah, it's very weird not being able to see him. But yeah, they're raised differently. Like for dogs, you have to be like, no, and don't do this.
Yeah.
This is a no.
With a cat, it'll literally, like, you're kind of breaking its brain to do that. Like if a cat like shits in the wrong place or whatever, there's nothing to do. Now, like with birds, it's the like apparently, I've never had, I have had birds, but I've never had like big ones. But my understanding is if they fuck something up, you have to not say a word. If you get pissed, it's like a reward for them because it's like they're bored and anything that's exciting is like, it makes them very happy. So if you're like screaming like, you asshole, I can't believe you did that. Like, they're like, this is great. I'm going to do it more and more. So you have to be like sort of flat affect, like, I don't even care. And like, don't even like react to it and wait for the bird to be out of the room and then clean it up.
No, dogs. I love those dogs. I love those dogs. And then my wife got pissed off because I asked about the dogs and never asked about her. Apparently, that's one of the things she's pissed off about.
Would you get another dog?
See, that's the rub, right? I want to be able to take care of the dog. And my concern is on days that I'm not feeling well or something like that. It's that part. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's the worst of days that my concern is about getting a dog. Mm-hmm. But, so I don't know. Mm-hmm. I play by ear.
All right. Fair. Okay. Okay, Nathaniel, how are the Canadian wildfires these days? I've had one out where I live in Scotland, only 50 miles from my home.
Wow.
Right now, things are slightly hazy, but it's okay. How about for you?
It's okay because Trump gonna wreck them like nobody's business.
he's gonna tariff them to death.
He's gonna tear Canada's another asshole. That's the funniest thing in the world to me. Donald Trump he gives them so much shit that it's just hilarious.
He's such a lunatic.
And it's like they don't know what to do, right? Because in the normal circumstances, you get like an Obama or Joe Biden or somebody like that who's very, even though that's an obvious power differential between the two, they pretend as if we're equals. Trump just doesn't seem to care. And, they're going to pay us for this.
Not even a little bit.
The smoke here is bad now.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yep. Lots of it.
Okay.
And we have a valley inversion, so all the smoke has been pushed down to the valley, so it can't get out. So it's kind of like living in Beijing in the 1980s.
That's not good.
Hickory flavored air.
All right. So we have, I love this. I mean, we got really good questions today, but they're always good, but I love these. So Hector, hello. What are your thoughts on the guy who got arrested for wiping his phone when detained by agents at the airport? Have you guys heard about this?
He wiped his phone? Oh, so, you mean like clearing it out, like deleting everything in his phone?
Yeah, he erased it.
So what happened is I didn't know this existed, and now that I do know it exists, I will avail myself of this. So this guy's not an American. He was visiting the United States. He entered the airport. I don't know which airport. It doesn't matter. The Border and Customs Enforcement guys said, "Turn over. We want to see your phone, and please enter your password or give us your password." He said, "Okay." He had a duress password. And so, basically it was like FUCKYOU, and then he went phew, and fried his phone, right? And he erased it completely. I'm like, I'm totally doing that. I didn't know that was even something.
Great.
That sounds so good. And so they arrested him.
What charge? What did he do?
Obstruction of justice is what they got him for.
But what crime did he
do you know what justice is?
Justice is an indication that something was being obstructed. What did he do?
Well, the problem, what he did is that he was breathing air, and as a result, he had to turn over his property to be inspected. In which case, he's just like, "Okay, here you go.
I don't blame him.
You can have the phone, but not my data."
Yeah, blow me.
No, 100%, right there with him.
It's
I do
like,
the
what?
same
I
thing.
mean, you're not. I mean, are they out of their minds?
Yeah, they're
Like,
out
I
of
know
their
that this is the
minds.
stuff that they've been pulling these days, but I don't blame that guy. In fact, that guy was right. If anything, I'd have a burner phone if I
Yeah,
was traveling.
yeah, well, totally. Obstruction of justice to me is where you're, and I have to look up the legal definition, but my understanding is that obstruction of justice is when an investigation or something like that is underway and
Right.
you intercede. So, for example, they've been using these clauses, ICE has been using obstruction of justice to arrest protesters who basically are following them and annoying them and blowing whistles. And they're like, but all these cases get thrown out of court when they're challenged because that's
Right.
not obstruction of justice, right?
And you have a
Obstruction
right
of
as an
justice is
American
like
citizen to take
obstruction of
revenge.
justice is like you have a trial and the mayor calls up a juror and says like, hey, change your vote. That's obstruction of justice.
Yeah. So basically, what they did is it looked like, and I could be wrong on this, but I was reading over on the weekend. So basically, originally got him for destroying evidence, which my question is destroying evidence for what crime?
Yeah, there's no inquiry.
Exactly.
There's no
What's
criminal
the crime?
inquiry here.
And
right?
then they're also looking at obstruction of justice because he destroyed evidence, therefore obstructing the justice system. Which my whole thing is, again, what have you done?
I hope he sues because he will
Yeah.
win.
Not just I hope he sues this, and they do this in order to intimidate.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. I mean, like it's like, dude, what crime did I commit? Like, for one, the people who are out there filming cops, you have every right to do that
100%.
as an American.
It's the most American thing you can do. Yeah.
Yes, that's not illegal for you to do that. They may harass you and everything else, but you're not doing anything illegal. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't jump into the middle of the investigation. Don't jump into the middle of a car that's wrecked or something crazy.
Yeah.
But for all of its purposes, videotaping is fine. Usually the whole, as you point out, the obstruction of justice thing is like, I have a bag of weed in my pocket. You've stopped me. I've seen inebriated, and I take the bag of weed and toss it somewhere. Okay, well, at that point, an investigation is inactive. They smelled weed or alcohol on the person. They're pursuing the thing. Meaning it's that, right, where an investigation has started. The guy didn't do anything. Like you're saying.
Here's the thing, right? Obstruction of justice means deleting or burning, hiding files, whatever, needed for a case. But there's no case. This man he's just coming to take pictures of the Statue of Liberty, right? I mean, he's a tourist. There's no case. Yeah. He's just entering the country.
Crime because he didn't want them going through his phone, which I don't, and most people who are sane wouldn't either.
Mm-hmm.
Your phone is extension. Your phone is an extension of your home, just like your car is.
I think it is. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I would strongly encourage anyone to do the same.
Burner phone. Yeah, that or burner phone. Because with a burner phone, they can't even. It's like, here, have at it. Yeah, enjoy my 2 phone numbers. That's it.
And they also, another thing that they do, right? They say like, give us your password. They drain your phone. They take everything, right? If you do that, and give us your password, and then you can be on your way. Otherwise, we'll detain you. People need to fucking grow some balls and say, "Fuck you! I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here." One of the things I learned, I've been detained by corrupt police officers and border guards all over the world, right? And one of the things that I figured out is they're scaring you. You don't want to be there because they could hurt you, and you're being inconvenienced, and you're tired, and you're hungry, and you want to shower. I get all that, but what you have to understand is you're also an annoyance to them. Like until they either execute you or let you go, you're kind of a pain in their ass. They can't go anywhere either. They can't kick off for lunch or take a break or call it a day. And if they keep you for a long time, there's going to be a lot of questions to answer and maybe a lawsuit. So it's a bluff. It's a game of chicken. And if you understand that and just like, I'm in no rush. I just flew 12 hours today and it was like 4 hours to the airport. I got all the time in the fucking world. Like, have at it, fuckers, but I am not giving you my code. If people start doing that, they will fucking stop fucking with people.
Yeah. They've gotten so accustomed to people just kind of acquiescing that they think it's, the norm. Which is what people do, by the way. It's like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, someone asked where he was from. So he was. It was at the Houston airport, and he was traveling here from Nicaragua. His name is Wilmer. I'm going to butcher this last name. Wilmer
why.
Chavaria.
So the airport in
Socialist
Texas
country.
is trash. And those people who work at that airport are horrible. The only place that I've ever actually ran into issue with cops was Texas airport. I was coming back from Panama. I had been in Panama for, I think, 3 days or something like that. It was just a short trip. And when I get back into the airport, they basically tell me immediately go to get checked. And I'm talking to one cop. He's being the good cop. The other cop is being the bad cop. And I'm like, dude, you can look through the bag. No. We'll just go through it one by one, and talk to me. And he's like having this conversation with me, and I'm explaining everything that he needs to know. And then at the very end, he sees laxatives. I'm sorry, no, anti-laxatives. And he's like, what are these for? They're anti-laxatives.
It's for
Yeah,
my
but you're using them.
butthole.
Yeah, he's saying, I think you're a drug mule because you have anti-laxatives in your bag. And I'm like,
Oh, right.
dude, you're out your fucking mind. And eventually the other guy was like, okay, go ahead. Take
I
your
would
shit
be
and
like,
go.
okay, well, I tell you what, I'll have a squat, and you can put your hands under my ass, and we'll
Well,
just
he
work this all
threatened
out.
to put his finger in my ass.
Oh God.
Like, that's what I mean. The Texas airport's trash. He had nothing to go by. And it was only when he saw the anti-laxatives, which for a flight that's several hours, you could imagine somebody who may have stomach issues from the food or something like that may have those. To him,
Sure.
proof
I mean,
of a crime.
you know, if I went to Nicaragua, of course I'm bringing fucking anti-laxatives or whatever the fucking called. Yeah.
From his point of view, I was a drug mule. And he
No, I
threatened.
mean, Montezuma's revenge is the real thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
Diarrhea is definitely one of the big problems with traveling in the developing world. Okay, question for everyone. My faves. Why isn't anybody concerned about how easy it is to get the president's phone number? Seems like half the media have it. He has it. He can be compromised.
You mean Trump?
Trump.
He could be compromised?
He already
That's
is.
hilarious. That's adorable. That's adorable.
What if Israel were to get to him? That could happen.
Yeah, I know. Right? He was like, oh my God, what happens if Netanyahu gets his hooks in Trump?
That could really affect foreign policy.
Right.
What if they could even be? I could even imagine some scenario where the American people were dragged into an incredibly destructive, self-destructive war for no good reason.
Yep.
I mean, Netanyahu is here right now. Yeah,
You must protect the phone number.
Netanyahu is here right now having a meeting with middle management, Trump and his friends. They're letting them know. All right, Donald, the war's not going as well as we wanted it to. You need to really step it up. Your numbers are kind of poor. And Trump's like, yes, sir, BB. Here, let me push the chair in for you again like a good little boy. Such a pussy.
Well, I think Trump is realizing the limits of American power. That's what I think.
True. Yeah, guy, I was just thinking about this whole in the background, thinking about like the countdown. Maybe we should just do without the countdown.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Then it'll save editing. We don't need it, right? We used to need it, but we don't need it anymore.
Yeah, we need it for TMI because, well, until we get Manila on board with just using Rumble Studio and ditching StreamYard,
Yeah,
we don't need the countdown.
yeah.
Let's
Just
just go
TMI
on.
needs it, but DeProgram doesn't. So
Right.
all right, we'll just bail on it. Fuck it. All right.
How's Manila doing, by the way?
I think
she's
doing
great.
well. Yeah.
Feisty as ever.
Yeah, it's true. She is. It never ages. Daniel BTS, why do you guys think politics overtook everything in the social zeitgeist? Sometimes I sometimes miss the political nihilism of the 90s and aughts. Now everything seems so existential.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one, to be honest.
24-hour media. That's
Well,
fine.
I could do it.
Internet.
But that didn't mean that everything had to be within the political sphere. Like, not everything was political, which creates a problem, right? When everything is political and everything fractures. It's kind of like the Rick and Morty episode where they kept having different realities. It's like there has to be some things where all of us agree. It's like, hey, rape is bad, right? Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, rape is bad.
Ish.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean, right?
Who's raping? Who's doing the raping?
Yeah, who's being raped?
Yeah.
Right? That's
Right.
that's what they added to it.
God.
As opposed to just the flat, well, obviously it's wrong. It's like, well, it depends on
Well, honestly, there's another major difference here. I mean, look, in the 90s, the economy was expanding. It was the biggest economic boom in American history. So it didn't benefit everyone equally, obviously. But the fact is, there was a general sense that you could be optimistic. Things might get better. I think now we don't have that. I think that's everything.
Oh, basically, people are in bad situations, so they become more nihilistic.
That's what I think. I mean, people are in trouble and they're looking for solutions, and politics, the people who are supposedly paid to solve our problems, we look to them and we realize how fucking useless they are.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point, you would think that those people will look for a political solution. Like nihilism, I suppose, is a stop, but hopefully it's not the end stop on that road. Hopefully it becomes, or maybe just the people who are nihilistic have a change in consciousness, meaning maybe that is the change of consciousness necessary for people to get to the next stage of whatever the next stage is. Hopefully this is not an endpoint.
Agreed. We have some more comments, and the show's we're almost out of time, which is amazing. But here we go. Philip Blair, question: when will Senator Chris Von Hollen and other progressive Democrats visit the West Bank like Representative Ro Khanna did?
Ooh, that's a good question for them. I mean, to give Ro Khanna credit, he did go.
Yeah. Honestly, those fucking settlers, they give no shits. They could have killed him.
Yes, they could have killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then I keep wondering, I remember at the time when he went, I kept thinking to myself, if they killed him, then what?
Oh my God. I mean, I don't want Ro Khanna to die that way, but if that happened in the abstract, game over Israel. Finished.
Nope. What they would have said is that he went there. He was causing problems.
Yeah,
that's what they would have said. Yeah,
he was whipping up an insurrection. He was trying to trigger a new intifada, and Israel acted in self-defense. It would be like the Liberty. Nothing.
It
was a long time ago, man.
You give the American political class way too much credit. They know exactly who owns them. They know exactly who pays them.
If there's no consequence to that, which I don't know if there would have been a consequence to it.
The consequence would be public opinion would be the consequence. I mean, public opinion is already permanently and irrevocably turned against Israel.
And it doesn't matter.
Never going to go back. And so this would have just hastened that process.
Yeah, but it's one thing for the public to feel some kind of way. It's another thing for there to be consequences.
Sure.
Who cares if the public feels some kind of way if you can't do anything about the fact that they just murdered a congressman? Like, that's a big fucking deal. And I don't know if there would have been consequence for it, despite the fact that it would have been a big fucking deal. I mean, Chris Van Hollen, all those guys, I don't know why they haven't gone yet. I mean, at the very least, they passed some or push.
Listen to us, though. The Zionists all have this, like, this litmus test. Like, oh, you've got to go to Israel after you win elected office. And we're like, you got to go to the occupied West Bank if you want to show you're cool.
I don't need them to. I mean, it was just good that Ro Khanna went to see it for himself and to be able to draw attention to it.
I'm glad that he
went. Something Israel is only doing what we allow them to do. Mm-hmm. And so for Ro Khanna to go and be like, this is all Israel. It's like, dude, you're in the belly of the empire. You're one of the people who are in that empire from the standpoint of legislative standpoint. You're effectively saying that a country of 9 million people is causing all the trouble. Okay. Where do the settlers get the weapons from? They get it from us.
Yeah, they sure.
What did it's like you had the money. Where did they get this from? Where did they get that from? What did they get? Basically, what you're boiling down to is Ro Khanna is pointing out American policy and complaining about American policy. I mean, I don't know. But good for going, though.
Oh, I'm glad this came up, too. Anna Miranda Raque, what do you guys say about Laura Loomer meeting her fellow Nazi tribesman Zelensky in Ukraine? Jamarl, the two wars were always won.
Two wars, yes.
The two wars were always won, O-N-E, not W-O-N, yeah.
Yeah, it was always one war. I mean, the U.S. is behind both wars. Yeah. And initially, it was Israel that was the tip of the spear, kind of like the Ukraine, but eventually it became the U.S. when it became clear that Israel couldn't do it. The U.S. doesn't want to get involved directly because, well, for one, we're fighting a war with Iran now, but the last thing we want is a war to go nuclear. But yeah, both wars were always won. And Laura Loomer seeing Zelensky. Have you noticed that the Trumpers are now moving closer to the war with Ukraine?
Yes, I was just going to get to that. So I mean, if memory serves, at the risk of sounding like Winston Smith, wait, have we always been at war with East Asia? Um, wasn't Laura Loomer like an anti-Zelensky zealot?
Yes.
No.
And now she's gone completely to the other side. Why did she change her mind? And why would Zelensky agree to meet with someone who used to say so much shit about him?
I could be wrong on this, but I can't think of any time where Laura Loomer was against intervention in Ukraine. Like, as far as I can remember, and I could be wrong, but as far as I can remember, she's always been one of the people talk about how Russia did this unprovoked invasion and is a genocidal state. I mean, first and foremost, she is going to be loyal to her tribe. That is who and what she is. And if she was ever critical of Trump giving lethal weapons to Ukraine, or Trump or Biden supporting Ukraine, or the Trump inheriting Biden's policies to Ukraine, if she was ever critical, I haven't seen it. Maybe she was.
She was.
I could have swore she was anti-Ukraine war.
She was.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't look at Laura Loomer all the time.
She has not said that. She's not said why she changed her mind, but she has been called out for changing her mind.
I suspect it's because Donald Trump has gotten closer to the war. Meaning it's a war that he's just kind of is like seemingly may about, but have still allowed it to continue with the U.S. selling weapons and those type of things. Not to mention the CIA seems to be running it. Maybe she just came around to it.
So you think it's just politics? Biden started it. Biden's bad. Trump inherited it. Trump's good. So now the war's good.
Well, it depends. I mean, and that's more of a question for you. When you're looking at Republicans and they're looking at the Ukraine war, is it more about the fact that it was Joe Biden's war, or is it more about the fact that it's a war in the first place?
Oh, Republicans love war. They love it.
Democrats don't like to be left out.
No, they don't. But I guess I'm more so thinking from the Republican side of it, it's about the fact that it's Joe Biden's war, not about the fact that it's a war.
Republicans, so for example, if you're talking about your garden variety Republican, they're always going to cheerlead for a stable world order. Borders cannot be changed. You got to be the most powerful nation. Russia is an enemy. Russia's a threat. Russia must be destroyed. So when Ukraine went in, the Republicans were all in there on it, whether it's Ben Shapiro or I guess Laura Loomer all right down the list. If Laura Loomer was against the war originally, it was because she was being a two-faced slut puppy, because that's what she is. And it was bad because Biden started it, but now that her daddy Trump is in charge, now all of a sudden it's a good war and Trump needs to win it. But Republicans, they love war. And that's one of the biggest things I despise about the Republican Party. Now, if you say you're a pro-life party, then explain to me how starving a baby to death or dropping a bomb on a kid is any better than killing a baby in the womb.
Yeah,
is hypocritical to the extreme.
No question. Okay, a few more, and we'll call it a show. With Daniel BTS, with Ms. Lindsay now being in that great neocon bar below ground, well, gay bar, I hope. Who do you think is the worst person in Congress? I say Randy Fine, followed by Apex Skank Wesley Bell.
I say Fetterman. I can't stand him.
Oh, God, yeah.
I can't stand him. I met his ass once. I mean, part of my reason I can't stand him is because he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. I mean, he was acting as I'm a lefty, I'm a progressive, I'm blah, blah, blah. Then he had a stroke and like he couldn't remember his last name.
Yeah.
Brian Mast. That dude is a ghoul. The fact that he wore the uniform of a foreign military that he served into the American Capitol.
Yep.
He should have been impeached. His citizenship should have been revoked, and he should have been deported to Israel.
Yep. Agreed.
Brian Mast. That
he's walking around with an Israeli uniform in the U.S. halls of Congress. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Robbie.
Disgusting.
Yes.
Okay. Sir Bikes a lot. Thanks for the twofer. Richard Medhurst knows of this OS. I think it's called Graphene. Max Blumenthal did a tweet on this.
Oh, what? Some kind of AI system?
That's the program that erases your phone.
Okay.
Let me write that down.
It's called graphene, Graphine.
Like graph INE. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, last one. We've had enough. A recent theoretical study suggested humans could potentially live up to 1,759 years if aging problems were fully overcome. Would you guys want to live that long? If not, what would your max be? That's sort of like how I've read that trees are technically immortal, and if like basically unless something gets to them, like an insect or a fire or something, there's nothing to stop them. There's no natural life expectancy for a tree.
It depends on what that life is. I mean, am I healthy for the 1,000 years, or am I,
Yeah.
good for 200 and then bedridden for the other?
Yeah.
It depends on what the life is.
I would say, like, assuming decent quality of life physically, I would love to live that long. Are you kidding? Why not? You're gonna be dead forever. So you were dead. Like Mark Twain said, like he was asked like whether he feared death, and he was like, "I was dead for millions of years before I was born, and and it didn't bother me none, and I don't think it'll bother me none afterwards."
Yeah, agreed. I mean, for as long as you're healthy, I mean, it's a life. I mean, like this, it's kind of hard to say, well, yeah, I want to live 750 and then drop dead.
Yeah, why?
It's just a little strange. If I could be 30 forever, okay, I'm down for that.
Yeah, how about you, Robby?
Nope, not me. I'm ready to go to heaven.
Well, I'm not ready for you to go to heaven anytime soon, so stick around. Okay, so by the way, we do have that question. We'll do that tomorrow. If you're the guy who emailed me yesterday, it was kind of a long question. I want to give it proper treatment from the three of us. So, okay, thanks everyone for tuning into the Q&A episode. Regular show will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow is 9 a.m. We're here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern time. Stream anytime. Guys who are, everyone who's just listening to the show, your long national nightmare is over, to quote Gerald R. Ford. We will get rid of the long timer so you don't have to forward on your phone when you're listening to us. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the suggestion. Thanks for participating in the Q&A. Thanks, Robby. Thanks, Jamarl. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Have a good one, guys.